let's talk about consuming RO water is harmful to health because it removes important minerals. Yeah, so let's tackle this particular question. Now, it is known that TDS, to begin with, is more about palatability. And once the TDS starts going above 500, 600 ppm, the palatability or the people's ability to like that water for drinking significantly reduces. In fact, on the left hand side is a table from WHO which says that, you know, less than 300 ppm in terms of taste is excellent. People love that water. Yeah. Then as we increase the TDS, the acceptability or palatability goes down. So also, you know, most regulatory bodies have capped the upper limit of TDS in water to 500 ppm. So for the sake of today's discussion, let us think that, you know, we are talking about water that has TDS of 500 and not much beyond that. So with that assumption, let us look at the statement that important minerals are removed. Now, if you look at the minerals that are contained within water, you know, TDS being high or low, whatever it is, the highest uh, concentrations of minerals that have any nutritional relevance is calcium and magnesium. Others are present in so low amounts that, you know, it's of no relevance, and some of them may be toxic. So we should not talk about those that are toxic. Yeah. So I am going to focus on calcium because of its high prevalence in hard water, and then look at whether if calcium as one of the high concentration ingredients is relevant, if at all, from the health point of view. Now, I have scanned through several data sets, and I'm going to kind of highlight a few things here. Is that whenever you look at data sets of drinking water analysis, and you look at TDS and calcium, you would typically find that water that is relatively high in TDS, let's say 270 ppm TDS, the calcium content is about 32 grams. Yeah. 252 ppm is about 16 grams. So my personal analysis from all the data sets about TDS and calcium content across several studies tells me that there is a certain average calcium content in water which is palatable, and that for that palatability I put the limit as 500 ppm TDS, right? So 500 ppm TDS, given that is the BIS standard, if you look at the calcium concentration there, it is not going to be beyond 50 ppm, or for that matter, you know, if your daily consumption is 2 liters, you might get about 100 milligrams for 2 liters. Yeah. Now, if I now juxtapose this to calcium needs of a adult human being. Yeah. So most nutrition literature will tell that the calcium content, calcium needed for a 60 kg human being is about 1000 milligram or 1 milligram per day. Yeah. And if we look at, you know, 500 ppm TDS, you know, so untreated hard water that is palatable, the calcium content is unlikely to exceed 50 ppm or 100 milligrams for 2 liters, which is what we consume. Yeah. And this particular amount is not more than, does not suffice for more than 10% of the required daily amount of calcium needed by the body. Yeah. In fact, 250 ml of milk will contain 300 milligrams of calcium, whereas 250 ml of high TDS water, 500 ppm water, will contain about 12 milligrams. Yeah. So the amount of calcium available in 1 glass of milk is 3 times that of 8 glasses of high TDS water. Yeah. Also, let us understand that RO as a home treatment technology is likely to be used by that class of people who can afford a glass of milk. Yeah. And if I use this particular line of argument about calcium and its nutrition lead and juxtapose it with other elements like calcium, you would find that in fact for those it is even lesser to be having any relevance to nutrition. So that is why I believe that the TDS in water does not have any nutritional value. Now there is another closely associated belief that drinking low TDS water extracts minerals from the body. Now, as I said earlier, this is in fact spoken about as that it leaches minerals from the body and thus cause mineral deficiencies with subsequent ill effects, ill health effects. Yeah. And I find this claim to be a bit jarring, uh, unusual, and without any scientific basis. And there are reasons for that. Firstly, our own bodies, there is something known as homeostasis, which controls the mineral content of the body fluids and its discharge from the body. Yeah. So if you are drinking low mineral or high mineral, there is this homeostasis with the help of kidneys especially, that the body brings into action, and therefore there is no such basis for such a claim of leaching of minerals from the body by consuming water. Secondly, salinity of human blood is 9 parts per thousand, that is 9,000 ppm. And this volume of blood could be around 4.5 to 5.7 liter. Now, we consume 500 ppm water because let's assume that we have consumed 500 ppm TDS water. It constitutes only about 5.5% of that total ppm, right? So how will that be of any relevance is something that physiology cannot explain. Also, it is known that organic sources of minerals, example calcium citrate in milk, is better absorbed biologically as compared to the inorganic calcium. In fact, it is also believed that very high TDS water can lead to calcium deposits in the gallbladder and bones, etc. So in fact it might cause ill effects rather than high mineral content in water may cause ill effects other rather than RO water causing ill effects. Yeah. So biological, there is no mechanism or explanation that can elucidate any role of 0 to 500 ppm water leading to imbalances or leaching. So this is biology. Now let us look at the actual field evidences. Yeah. There have been many studies which are either part of a actual intervention or part of an habit, like and not, since those studies have not been done in India, I am bringing the US context here. But in Colorado, they have been drinking, so 50 families were provided with drinking water containing only about 0.05 ppm TDM for several months, and nothing happened to them. The US Navy consumes distilled water for almost 40 years, and RO units are used by US Army for drinking water for soldiers. When NASA sends spacecraft up and people live there for months, the TDS of that water is also 0.05 milligrams per liter. And in US EPA conducted a project in New Mexico where the TDS was dropped from 80 milligrams to 40 to 70 milligrams for several months, and none of these have had any adverse health impacts. Also, I would view that the consumption of low TDS water, if you see certain geographies, Kerala, Mumbai, that typically has around 30 to 60 ppm water, almost all the time less than 100 ppm TDS water, and that water has not necessarily caused any kind of a chronic harm to them. At least there is no medical evidence of that. And as well, lakhs of TDS reduction devices have been sold residentially in India. And again, there are no reports of adverse health impacts thereof. So these are the reasons why I believe that consuming RO water is not likely to cause any harm to human health.